Death and change is guaranteed throughout our whole life. Instead of fearing change, embracing the change. We evolve. We all evolve.
Welcome to the Waves of Change podcast, where we aim to inspire the listener to awaken to their purpose and take the action required to live life on their own terms. My name is Darragh, confidence and mindset coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and humanitarian. I will be sitting down with creators from all walks of life who grew through the waves of change in their lives to be making the impact in the world they are today.
Darragh Byrne in the house, coming in with the reintroduction of the Waves of Change Season 2. A lot has happened between last year and today, with the first round of podcast interviews and conversations. And now, previously I lived in Australia, now I live in Bali. We left Australia after 15 years, brought our children home to meet the family for the first time properly, and travel around Ireland, reconnect with our home and our families, friends, before we re-emigrate to Bali. And I'm going to recap today on the intention of the podcast, and I'm also going to do an update on life for us and the intention behind the podcast and some of the guests, surprise guests that we have lined up, the professional industries that they are in, and so on, so on. First of all, it's absolutely great to be back. I've been working to get this back up and running the last maybe 2 months. Time hasn't served me well, completing my Master Coach certificate and moving the family to a developing country. A developing country. So, anyways, the attention, the Waves of Change podcast is basically for anybody who is going through changes in their lives to recognize that death and change is guaranteed throughout our whole life. And instead of fearing change, embracing the change. We evolve. We all evolve. And it's when we're afraid to let go of our past identities. For me, Darragh used the party animal, the life and soul of every party, the last man standing, the instigator, and the last man standing of every party I was ever in. And when I crossed over into coaching and speaking about spirituality, struggles and the battles that were going on in my head, I feared what people from my local community, my family, my friends, even my partner would think about me. I wouldn't let anybody into my Facebook. Like I had 80 people or 100 people, but they were all the people that I was working with in this world. I was afraid to let anybody who knew me from my past life or from growing up hear what I was now doing. So I feared so bad the judgment from others that I did not want them to know. Now, however, it's a completely different story. I had to break through those mental barriers. The more I healed, the less I cared who knew, and the more important it was for me to share this wisdom and this work with as many men and women who would listen. And the penny dropped. The penny dropped. It was no longer about me. This is if you look foolish, if people judge you, X, Y, and Z, it's nothing got to do with you. What's important is you share this work because it's literally saving people's lives. It's reconnecting and molding families back together from the heart and soul, and bringing people back from the brink of suicide and feeling lost in their jobs, lost in their careers, lost in relationships, And the natural evolution of this work is people tend to share it. It just happens. It's amazing. It's such a beautiful thing. And when I say it puts people back together, I mean families back together and relationships, it's it's the awakening of our soul's potential and the connection within human. We're not born to fight, we're not born to hold resentment towards each other. We're social beings that like connection and community. So when people start to share what's going on with them, and then their friends and family, they're intrigued, they ask questions, they want to know more, and then it just naturally people come and they start teaching and they want to. It's crazy, but it's beautiful. And bringing it back to the change, if I was afraid to change and let go of that past identity of Darragh, I used to party for 4, 5 days straight every weekend, missing Mondays, Tuesdays, didn't work for a chunk of my life in Melbourne. Um, because I got sacked from fucking nearly every job I was in. Well, I did get sacked from every job I was in. It was just a matter of time. Some days it was on the first day, some day it was after. Sometimes it was after a few weeks or a few months. And the intention of the podcast is to bring people in that have went through that change in their life similar to me, and to also chat with them and hear of their heroic journey and what it was like for them to break free from their past identity and their stories. Because there's so many levels I choose to go up as opposed to down, but the deeper we're rooted into Mother Earth, the farther we grow like an oak tree um, in nature. So I will be chatting with more professionals, more like in psychology, in counseling, in I believe a lady wants to speak to me from um, what's it called? Oh my God, my mind has gone blank. A lady from domestic violence, manager of a centre in Ireland, will reconnect with her. Sports stars, up and coming sports stars, everyday people like me, coaches, everybody, we all have a heroic journey. And the purpose on the backside of that, the result I aim to have for that is more education for people in Ireland and around the world to understand the power that we all possess. I'm not special. I've just worked at this at myself and developed myself over and over again by putting myself in the firing line and facing off with my shadows, my trauma, my childhood trauma, and all of the made up stories that my ego has used to dominate and control me for most of my life. You have the same power I do, and we all have the same power that we put celebrities on pedestals and sports stars and astrologists and astronomers and um, everybody. We all have the same stuff inside us. It's just in society, we are dominated by fear. Everything is sold based on fear. Makeup, you will not be good enough until you have makeup. There's runners, this watch, the house, the car, the family, so on and so forth. So the main purpose of the podcast is to awaken people to their soul's purpose. So you go on, if something sparks in your brain or in your heart, to live life on your own terms. If that's leaving the job that you hate, changing the career that you love, that's no longer work. If that's finishing a dead end relationship in romantic or friend, or if that's leaving your hometown to go travel the world, whatever that is for you, um, is the aim of the podcast. You coming back to me. it's been weeks in the making, as I said, that the conditions haven't been right. I've been trying to get a studio, and right now I'm in my bedroom here. There's a hole in the roof above me. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you'll get a few funny stories out of that. Whenever it's thunder lightning, the bedroom roof starts to leak. But us moving to Bali, how did that come about? Um, we were due to get married here a few years ago, on June 2020, and the borders closed 6 weeks before the wedding. Fast forward, I rebooked the date to be January, which was a huge error of judgment and timing on my behalf because the flights went through the roof. And yeah, so long story short, we were going back to Ireland and we're going to stay there for 3 months to reconnect with our family and allow the family to get to know our family and for our kids to know who their Irish family is whenever we talk to them on like on social, not social media, WhatsApp and all of those things. We were coming back in September to go to Australia to move to Warren Bay, a place called Mullaby, just next to it. Craig, one of my friends, good friends, is like, well, you're gonna go back there in September and then come back to Bali for the wedding in January. So you come back September, leave Australia again December for a month to 6 weeks. Like, why don't you just go to Bali? And with that, the whole world opened up. It was like it gave me a hug. Penny dropped. I was like, gee, what? And just like within 5 minutes of ending that phone call, we were moving to Bali. I spoke to her. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. We're gonna move to Bali. We're gonna stay there for 6 months. We're gonna do the wedding. We're gonna see what's what. We're gonna bring the kids. We go back to Ireland. We won't be in a rush. We can get help if we need them. X, Y, and Z." But the most important part of this story, within 5 minutes, we were moving to Bali. Full body, yes. My heart was on fire. My smile was beaming out on my face. And the excitement was like, yes, I was a kid again. After 2 years of lockdown and whatever else was going on in the world, I was ready for a new challenge and a new experience, some new adventures for the kids, myself, and Serge. If we can stand traveling through Ireland and living in another foreign country, we can definitely stand marriage together. So here we are, yeah. So we moved here in September after an incredible time in Ireland with the family. Had its ups, it had its downs. We can never forget the family dramatics. There's obviously different belief systems nowadays. They're even more illuminated than ever. And yeah, it was such a beautiful time though to reconnect and just be with family and let the kids know who their grandparents were. A few weeks after we come back, not even maybe a week, 2 weeks, my mom called and Bodie was always like, Granny, Granny, screaming at the phone and that melted my heart. And it just gave me that confirmation of why we went home like that for so long. Cersei gave up a career in the process, and all of it didn't come without challenges, the fears, the worries. Are we doing the right thing? What about the kids? And then you add everybody else's fears into the mix. And what about Bali? It's got no medical system there. Why don't you stay home here in Ireland? You've got no home back in Australia because we sold everything and sold cars and family car, and I took the kids out of school, and you're starting to settle into that comfortable life in Ireland again. At the first few weeks, the last few weeks gets a little bit poke holes under your ass because you don't have your own house, your own space, and all of that. But if we did, we probably would settle in faster than we think, and have different thoughts about that late afterwards. Um, so yeah, are we doing the right thing? All of those things come up. We move to Bali, and it's obviously completely different here. There's everybody travels around on motorbikes, scooters, and it's not as like clean as the Western world, and it doesn't have as many rules, which both comes with its pros and its cons. And the kids, let's say, it's not as safe to the naked eye at first glance, but then the more you're here and the more your nervous system settles down, the calmer you sort of become in these surroundings, and it just becomes second nature. It's like everything. And tying that back to career, same. Everybody fears leaving their comfortable corporate job or the trade. For me, it was a plumber, and try out something new because this is my identity. I was always a plumber. My dad was a plumber. My uncle was a plumber. The whole family tree were all plumbers. If I'm not a plumber, I'm letting the family down. And if I'm not a plumber, who am I? But the reality is, on the other side of that fear is a gateway to a whole other version of yourself that has the confidence and the belief to attain and achieve anything that you want in life. That is absolutely anything. The more healed I became, the more comfortable I became in the unknown. I love and relish, and the unknown is my playground. It's like, how can life surprise me now? That's what I believe about the unknown. And that's what Bali is. The more you're here, the more calmer the regulator nervous system becomes. And that's the same for you. Should it be traveling the world, changing career, changing, cutting off a dead end relationship, or friendship that's toxic, whatever it is, the fear of letting go is harder than letting go itself. To rebuild, you got to create your life. You got to create your masterpiece from that wisdom. So that was moving to Bali. Within 5 minutes, we decided to do that. And now, yeah, we've got family coming to visit. It's obviously a holiday destination. So we're having visitors all the time. It's really good fun. We're meeting people here from all over the world. Kids love it. Kids love the beaches. It's a lot more free and liberating. There's entrepreneurs everywhere. There is art-led leaders everywhere. There's yoga. There's a deep history with the natives and the land here. And my heart is truly at home in this country for now. And yeah, so last year professionally, I've done my master coach training, which was whew, well, this is the most intense work I've ever done on myself, both professionally and personally, in my whole entire life. How I managed to do that while traveling the world, packing up 15-year life in Australia, moving back to Ireland for 3 months, missing flights in Australia, being stuck there for a few days while the airline got us new flights, the headache that was, and then moving to Bali and setting up life here while doing a master's um, was crazy, absolutely crazy. It took me, because I'm all go, I believe it might have been around November that the thing started in February, March. It was around November. It wasn't over till just before Christmas. But everyone was saying, do you celebrate yourself? Like what you're doing is incredible. But for me, all I could think about was my family, getting set up, making it as comfortable as possible for Sarah, and regulating her nervous system as much as I could, and making her feel at home and comfortable, and the kids getting them into school. So all I could think about was being the provider and getting my jobs done. I never actually had a moment to sit with what was what has happened behind me, if you get me. And one day that came to a culmination in the cafe as I was writing my notes for my master project. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I sat in the cafe in Bali, there's a couple right beside me. Place packed, place packed, and I'm broken down in full tears. Full fucking tears for about 20 minutes, probably more. I can't remember. I was writing, I was crying, I was just like, I was a mess in the most beautiful way. And yeah, the penny had dropped. Like, look what's after happening. Look what you've created. Look how far you've come in such a short space of time. But in reality, it wasn't a short space of time. I've been working for years to get to that moment. And it was a no matter what. With their brother, friend, and mentor, Preston Smiles, who I've been connecting with for the last 6 years straight, um, and his beautiful wife, Alexia Panos. One of their biggest teachings or questions is, can you be a no matter what? And when you play high stakes like I did, I left Australia, we did as a family. We went to Ireland, spent an absolute fortune, came to Bali with peanuts, and put my family on, like literally on the line. And it was there's only one outcome. And that's all I see. That's my belief. As long as you work and navigate the obstacles as they come, there can only be one outcome. And that outcome is you winning and achieving and attaining whatever it is that you want for yourself in life. And that is an absolute fact. I stand over that. I know I can achieve whatever I want, and I know my clients can too, and I know that you can as well. So coming to Bali, there could only be one outcome. There literally could, because my two children, my partner, our lives as a family, we're literally on the line. So to do the masters, and everything else I was doing, I always focused on that to bring me, not to not to ground me, but to know that I'm not going back to do it again. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to set my family up, regulate my own nervous system, create the financial abundance that we need to thrive and prosper and give back in this country. It's a beautiful country, and complete my master certs in the process and impact as many people as I could at the time as possible. Now, yeah, it's beautiful. I'm working with people all over Ireland and Irish people all over the world. I'm working with the MindFit Gym HQ, which is, I'm a founding father in that, a group of brothers who have come together to create a content library that has the business model and the capacity and structure to become the biggest library for men's mental health and coaches apprenticeship based program in the world. That is our target. That's what we're trying to do. And it's really gaining traction right now. It's going to gain a huge amount of traction right now. There's a big flood of men coming in through the doors, but based around the world. And we've got coaches around the world in the US, in Denmark, in Ireland, from myself in Bali, in Australia. We are taking that on the road, Bloke's Venture, which is a men only 3-day retreat in nature, where men delve into the deepest, darkest parts of themselves to find their light, let go of the trauma and the burdens that they carry so heavily in today's world, and be rebirthed to their family as a completely different animal, different man, different provider with huge amount of stress removed and released from their life. My personal mission has been to, and it still is, to impact 100,000 Irish people directly and through the ripple effect for the year 2040. 80,000 men, 20,000 women. Um, Ireland is a deeply traumatized society, and I know, so I lived there, from there, my family are from there. My mum was unofficially one of the first Black Irish people in Ireland. She was born outside of wedlock. I know the traumas of her past and her history, based on the church and the rules and all the other bullshit that comes with totalitarianism. And now it's you're with the science or against the science, you're for, pro, anti. It's all bullshit. It's all the same. It's all designed to divide and conquer and control. And it has done that to a large part of society. Same methods of back in the day, in the 1950s, when my mum was born in Ireland. And when my mum was born in Liverpool, she was brought back to Ireland by her mother, who was from Finglas, um, 3 months later. She was born in Liverpool, England. And Ireland is a deeply traumatized society, and my soul's purpose is to crack open the heart of the masculine energy in Ireland, crack open the hearts of Irish men across the whole fucking Ireland, and to create leaders in communities and train my clients, men, to be able to do the work that I can do, and so that they can be the high tide in their community. They can be the high tide that raises all the ships. So men in Ireland can look after each other, and it's no longer a complaint about the government and the powers and all of the other things that don't have enough mental health services, they don't fund enough, um, they don't care about us, and X, Y, and Z. Because you are the leader of your own life. You take control of your own life, then you no longer succumb to the victim consciousness that somebody else needs to be your savior. You can be your own. And you can be that for your friends and your family. Heal people, heal people. As I said at the start of the session, it's 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 a natural evolution. It's a fucking beautiful thing. It's like fitness people. People become PTs because it sparked in them that they went on a fitness journey. Yoga, same. Cersei became a yoga teacher because the class in New York forced her heart wide open. She went and traveled around Australia to festivals in Ireland and brought it to the world, basically. But it's the same. I'm a master at relieving men and women of trauma of any kind and helping them to remove the parts of them that are still pain. And the natural evolution of that is huge amount of confidence because they faced off with their biggest fears, sharper mindset, and a freedom that cannot be gave from anywhere outside of us in life, but a freedom that comes from the heart and the soul. So That is my purpose. And being a part of the MindFit Gym HQ is both the connection and combination of that, but my singular purpose. My ears have just popped. But yeah, my singular purpose is to help the men of Ireland, to release the shame and the fear and the worries of opening up and opening their mouth, and help them to open up enough so that we no longer choose to go to the graveyard with suicide, and we no longer choose to suffer in silence because we hold shame about what other people may think about us. So to make men's work mainstream, not mainstream media type mainstream, but accepted enough that the stigma of men's mental health and speaking out or being open about your mental health and what's going on for you in your internal world no longer is a stigma. So our kids know that, oh, daddy is going to a men's circle tonight. Daddy is going down to do this, and my dad is going to do that. But young Bodie, which is my son, and whoever else, they know that it's okay to be open with their true feelings, their heart. And this is for men who are, gay, who are afraid to what's called coming out of the closet, and for females and everyone else. And that's a beautiful thing. People stepping into more of who they are based on what's coming from their soul, not what society is telling them to be. Coming back to the client, just signed a new client in Australia, somewhere, big place, who's been in part of the AA world for a long time, many, many years. And we had a session yesterday. Just Dr. Gabor Mate spoke about it too, how deeply traumatized Irish men are and Irish society. But my client mentioned that going to an AA meeting in Ireland and going to an AA meeting in Australia is a completely different ballgame. The trauma that the men speak about in Ireland, I don't like to say trumps the trauma of Australia, but it would be easily perceived because no trauma is and trauma happens in a multitude of ways. I'll come back to that. But trauma is relative to the individual. What your nervous system might perceive as, oh, you just got kicked off a swing, or to somebody else who lives in a war zone for 10 years, and they hear a bullet go off and they're still eating their sandwich. Where if I hear a bullet go off, I'm hitting the floor and hiding under the deck or under the chair or under the table or under something. You know what I mean? So their nervous system has become regulated and so attuned to gunshots and bombs and all of that type of stuff. Whereas my nervous system is not used to gunshots and X, Y, and Z. And that's the same. In Ireland, it's a deeply traumatized society that is masked with alcohol and drugs. In Australia, there is deep trauma, but I don't believe it runs as deep as what it does in Ireland. So again, it's my mission from my diet until my dying breath. I will share this wisdom, this work, these tools with as many men as possible in mainly Ireland, but men around the world. Um, this podcast is education, free content, and to get the message out there and to allow the listener to understand what is possible and what other people have overcame, letting go or embracing the change in their lives and putting the work in to attain what it is that their heart desires. That is it. That is it for now. What I will do, I've got my second episode booked in for tomorrow. I've got another one booked in for Monday, and we're going to start getting a lot of new podcasts uploaded in the next. Yeah, there'll be one a week. Once this one goes live, there'll be one a week from then, and it's the top of the priority list. It's in the top three, anyways. There will be podcasts with me. There won't all be conversations with other people. There will be teachings in there directly from me based on experience, based on my training, based on clients' breakthroughs as well. You getting so much good feedback from people who are starting to listen to the podcast again. So if you haven't listened to the previous podcasts, I know there's a huge amount of new followers and new people that are in my world right now. It's growing every day. If any feedback is welcome, anything that I can do better, if there's just shoot me a message. If I agree with you, I'll definitely implement it. And if there's anybody that you feel would be a great story to be told on the podcast, please hit me up with that as well. I'd love to connect with those people and share that story in the hope that it inspires others to start their own heroic journey. So that is it. I love this deeply. I love this dearly. And I cannot fucking wait. 2023 has already rocketed out of the traps. It's going to be the biggest year of all of our lives. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If anything resonated for you, please leave a comment below. If there's anyone who may need to hear, please share. I love this. Have a lovely day.